Welcome to N Media. Please subscribe. Let's enjoy. Emphasis on the son's transformation, coming of age. The silence in the kitchen was a physical presence, thick and heavy as wet wool. It was broken only by the methodical tick-tock of the antique wall clock, a sound that usually faded into the comforting hum of the household, but now seemed to hammer each passing second into Vanessa's consciousness. She watched her son, Rob, his thin shoulders hunched forward as if bearing an invisible weight, his gaze fixed on the unchanging pattern of the laminated table. He was a study in quiet sorrow. At 17, he should have been all sharp angles and restless energy, but instead he seemed to be folding in on himself, receding from the world. The move was supposed to be a fresh start for both of them. A new city, a new home, a new school. A clean slate after the years of just the two of them closeness that had followed the divorce. She had hoped, perhaps naively, that the stability Tim offered, a beautiful home near the company headquarters, financial security, a kind and steady presence, would provide the foundation Rob needed to blossom. Setting her coffee cup down with a soft click, she leaned forward. "Rob, what's the matter, honey?" Her voice was gentle, a careful probe into his private world. "Your teacher, Mrs. Gable, called me today. She mentioned that you're having a hard time adjusting to the new school, that making friends seems difficult." He flinched almost imperceptibly, his eyes remaining downcast, tracing the whorls in the wood grain as if they held some secret map to a better place. The silence stretched, punctuated by that relentless clock. Vanessa's heart ached. She remembered the boy who would chatter endlessly about dinosaur facts, who would cling to her hand on the first day of school, but always found a friend by recess. That boy seemed like a distant memory, replaced by this closed-off young man. "Talk to me, honey," she urged, her voice softening further. "Tim, and I really thought this would be a good school for you. Yes, there are more girls than boys in your class, but you've been in mixed schools before. You've never had trouble saying hello or being friendly." She hesitated, the unspoken words hanging between them. "Until the divorce, until your dad left, until it was just us." Those events had carved deep channels in his soul, and she feared this new change, though positive, had flooded them with fresh uncertainty. Rob finally lifted his eyes. The pain in them was so raw it stole her breath. It was a look that belonged to a much older person, a look of profound weariness. "There's nothing to say, Mom," he murmured, his voice low and rough with disuse. "We say hi in the halls. But nobody really wants to talk to the new guy. They all have their own groups, their own jokes." His voice cracked on the last word, betraying the depth of his isolation. Vanessa's instinct was to wrap him in a hug, to promise to fix it all, to whisk him back to their old life. She clung to a memory. "I can't believe that. When we first visited that one girl, Alex, she was the one who showed us around, wasn't she? She's in your class, too. She seemed so lovely and welcoming." "Yes," Rob answered. The word pulled from him reluctantly. "She seemed very nice," Vanessa pressed, tilting her head, trying to catch his eye. "She is nice," he conceded. "She talks to me sometimes." There was a hesitation in his tone, a flicker of something more complicated than simple shyness. It made Vanessa lean forward, her maternal antennae twitching. "Well, that's wonderful. Honey, tell me more, please. I want you to be happy here. If you really don't like it, we can even consider moving back. I'll do what it takes. Tim will understand, too. If we have to manage long distance again, we'll make it work. Your happiness comes first." The offer was genuine, and a part of her meant it. She would unravel this new, happy chapter with Tim if it meant her son could smile again. Rob shook his head, quickly, a flash of panic in his eyes. "No, Mom, I don't want to go back." The old town was filled with its own ghosts, its own memories of a fractured family. "Then, at least tell me more about Alex," Vanessa pressed, gently steering him back to the one potential lifeline to side, surrendering a little. "Well, we talk sometimes. Before class. but she's always with her group of friends, her girlfriends, and I'm the only boy. Vanessa smiled, trying to lighten the oppressive mood. A lucky boy, surrounded by all those girls. Are the other boys jealous? She was genuinely pleased. Female friendship could be a gentle, accepting gateway into a new social circle, but Rob didn't mirror her smile. His face remained a mask of quiet misery. That's the problem, Mom. I don't feel comfortable. They want to do things I don't want to do. Her face turned serious, the lawyer in her emerging. They're not trying to get you into trouble, are they? She asked, her voice firm. No, nothing like that, he said, shaking his head. They like to go to the mall and hang out. Or they go to someone's house after school. They invite me, but I don't know. Why not? Vanessa asked, genuinely puzzled. If they're asking you, they clearly want you there. And maybe they'd be open to doing something you suggest, too. Rob shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his body language screaming his desire to escape this conversation. I look different. I'm the only boy. I stick out. And the other boys at school, they don't like it either. I think they make comments. The air went out of Vanessa. So that was it. It wasn't just shyness. It was the cruel, casual brutality of the teenage social order. Her quiet, sensitive son was being ostracized for stepping outside the arbitrary lines. Are the boys being nasty to you? She asked carefully, trying to keep the fury out of her voice, to make it a safe space for confession. Because you're hanging out with the girls. He stayed silent, but the silence was a confirmation louder than any shout. He looked so small, so defeated. Vanessa resisted the overpowering urge to demand names, to call the school, to shield him from every sharp edge in the world. She knew if she pushed too hard now, he would retreat into a shell she might not be able to penetrate for months. She took a deep, steadying breath, forcing her voice to be a soft, calm harbor in his storm. Rob, I know this isn't easy. New places, new people, it's hard for anyone. But please promise me something. If anyone bullies you, if anyone says anything cruel or makes you feel unsafe, you'll tell me. Or tell Tim. Promise me that at least. Rob glanced up at her, his expression filled with a pain that seemed too ancient for his young face. After a long moment, he whispered, I promise. Then, as if the effort of the conversation had drained his last reserves of energy, he stood and walked to his room, his slim frame disappearing down the hallway. Vanessa sat alone at the table for a long time, staring at the empty chair. The tick-tock of the clock was now a mocking echo of her own worried heart. She had to do something. She couldn't just stand by and watch him drown. The next day, a plan crystallized in her mind. It was a little unorthodox, perhaps a slight overstep, but desperation justified the means. She called the school office, using the polished, professional tone she reserved for client meetings. Hello, this is Vanessa Carter, Rob Carter's mother. I just wanted to thank Alex. I'm sorry, I don't recall her last name, the student ambassador who gave us a tour. She was so wonderful and put my son so at ease. I'd love to send her a small thank you note. Could I possibly get her contact information from the student directory? The secretary, disarmed by the request, provided Alex's email. That afternoon, Vanessa composed a carefully worded message, thanking Alex for her kindness and asking if she might have a moment to speak confidentially about Rob's transition to the school. To her immense relief, Alex responded within an hour, and they arranged to meet at a quiet coffee shop near the school the next morning. Vanessa arrived early, choosing a corner booth. When Alex walked in, she was exactly as Vanessa remembered, bright-eyed with a warm, open face and an easy confidence. She shook Vanessa's hand firmly. It's nice to see you again, Mrs. Carter. Is everything okay with Rob? She asked, getting straight to the point as she slid into the booth. Over steaming lattes, Vanessa let her carefully constructed composure crack just a little. She spoke of her worries, of Rob's silence, of her fear that the move had been a mistake. "I just want him to be happy," she confessed, her voice tinged with a vulnerability she usually kept hidden. "If it means moving back, we'll do it. I can't bear to see him so unhappy." Alex listened intently, her expression thoughtful and surprisingly mature. "Honestly, Mrs. Carter," she began, stirring her coffee, "Rob doesn't have any real issues with anyone at school. I mean, sure, he's quiet, but my group of friends really likes him. He's sweet. He fits in more than he realizes." She leaned forward conspiratorially. "My best friend, Tessa, she even invited him to go to the movies last weekend, but he said he was busy. We always invite him to hang out on Friday evenings at Tessa's house. We order pizza, listen to music, sometimes dance. It's nothing wild, I promise. Just fun, but Rob never comes." Vanessa's eyebrows lifted in surprise. He hadn't mentioned any of this. "Maybe he feels uncomfortable being the only boy," she ventured. Alex shook her head gently. "I don't think that's the main issue. He seems okay with us when we talk at school. Honestly, I think he's just heard some comments from, like, Jason Miller and his friends. But that's only because they're jealous. They don't get invited. We can't stand Jason, he's a total jerk." A wave of relief, tentative but real, washed over Vanessa. It wasn't systemic bullying, just the predictable posturing of teenage boys. "I was so afraid it was something worse," she confessed. "Would you do me a favor, Alex?" Vanessa asked, her voice earnest. "Please just encourage him. Next time you have plans, really try to get him to come along. I know he doesn't fit in with those other boys, and I'd 1,000 times rather see him with you and your friends." "Of course," Alex replied without hesitation. "We're actually planning a birthday party for our friend Allison this Friday at Tessa's. I'll ask Tessa to personally invite him. She really likes him, I can tell. That might make a difference." Vanessa's smile was one of profound gratitude. "Thank you, Alex. I mean it. Please, just keep me in the loop if anything happens. I just want him to find his place." "Don't worry, Mrs. Carter. We've got him," Alex said with a confident smile as she gathered her things. As she watched the girl leave, Vanessa felt a complex mix of emotions. Relief was paramount, but it was edged with a nagging uncertainty. Was she manipulating things too much? Would Rob feel betrayed if he found out? But the image of his desolate face at the kitchen table steeled her resolve. She had to try. That evening at dinner, the atmosphere was its usual quiet self. Tim made easy small talk about his day, and Rob gave monosyllabic answers. Then Rob's phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at it, his eyes widening slightly, and excused himself, taking the call into the living room. "Vanessa," and Tim exchanged a look of mild curiosity. When Rob returned 10 minutes later, he sat down, picked up his fork, and with an air of forced nonchalance that was utterly transparent, said, "That was Tessa. She invited me to Allison's birthday party this Friday." Vanessa's heart did a little skip. She kept her voice carefully neutral. "That's wonderful, honey. We should get Allison a present." "I'm not sure if I want to go," Rob muttered, stabbing at his chicken pot pie. Tim, picking up on Vanessa's subtle cues, chimed in with easy grace. "Well, the invitation is nice. No pressure, bud. Just let us know if you decide." Rob nodded, falling into a silence that was somehow less heavy than before. But in Vanessa's heart, a small, stubborn spark of hope had been lit. The next 2 days passed in a slow crescendo of anticipation for Vanessa. She watched Rob like a botanist observing a rare plant, noting every tiny change. He was quiet, but a new kind of quiet, a thoughtful one, not a despondent one. He hadn't said no. On Thursday evening, she could no longer contain herself. "So, any more thoughts on the party?" she asked as she passed him the mashed potatoes. Rob looked from her to Tim, as if seeking permission to want to go. Finally, he let out a soft sigh. I said I would go. Tessa asked me again today, personally, so I told her yes. The words were spoken with reluctance, but they were words Vanessa had been desperate to hear. She offered an encouraging smile, careful not to overwhelm him with her delight. That's great, Rob. I'm sure you'll have a good time. Alex will pick me up, he continued, as if reading from a script of unfamiliar social rules. But she might stay over at Tessa's afterward. Can you pick me up around 11? It won't be later than that. Of course, sweetheart, Vanessa replied immediately, her tone supportive and effortless. If it ends up being later, just call. Saturday's free, you can sleep in. No worries at all. She kept her voice deliberately calm, though inside she was nearly radiant with quiet joy. She suggested an Amazon gift card for Allison, and Rob agreed, gratefully the practical problem of gift-giving solved. The conversation felt almost normal, a tiny fragment of the mother-son connection she feared had been lost. When Rob retreated to his room, Vanessa and Tim shared a look across the table. It was a look of mutual, unspoken relief. It was a start. Friday evening arrived charged with a new energy. Vanessa watched, her heart in her throat, as Rob got ready. He emerged from his room wearing a clean polo shirt and dark jeans, his hair damp from the shower. He looked painfully young and unbearably vulnerable. Right at 6 p.m., the doorbell rang. Alex stood there beaming. Hey, Mrs. Carter. Ready, Rob. Vanessa whispered a fervent thank you as Alex stepped inside. Rob came down the stairs, holding the envelope with the gift card. His awkward shyness was palpable, but there was also a new determination in his eyes, a faint glimmer of something that looked like excitement. Hi, he murmured to Alex, offering a small, genuine smile that Vanessa's heart swelled. Call when you're ready, sweetheart, she reminded him, light and easy. We'll come get you. I'll probably be the last to leave, Alex offered helpfully. I usually help Tessa clean up. I can drop him off if that's easier. The kindness in her voice was a balm to Vanessa's nerves. She watched them walk to Alex's car, Rob's slim frame beside Alex's confident one, and sent a silent prayer out into the universe. The hours that followed were long. Vanessa was restless, tidying already tidy rooms, picking up a book only to put it down again. Tim, ever calm, finally persuaded her to watch a movie, but her attention was constantly on her phone. When it finally rang, just after 11 p.m., the noise made her jump. The background was a hum of music and distant laughter. Mom. Yeah, I'm gonna get a ride home with Alex. Not sure what time, but don't wait up. The simple normality of the statement, the fact that he was out late at a party, was the most beautiful thing she had heard in months. Okay, honey, have fun. See you when you get home. She slept deeply and peacefully for the first time in weeks. The next morning, sunlight streamed into the house. Vanessa, waking early, padded down the hallway and gently pushed open Rob's door. There he was, asleep, one arm flung over his head. His face was relaxed, peaceful, the anxious lines from the kitchen table completely erased. The relief that washed over her was so profound it felt like a physical warmth. She closed the door softly, leaving him to rest. It was past noon when she heard the shower running. Smiling to herself, she decided to strip his bed for washing. As she pulled the pillowcase free, she stopped. There, on the white cotton, were faint but unmistakable stains. Smudges of a vibrant red, with darker, waxy streaks above them. Lipstick, and not just transferred by accident. These were the marks of lips pressed firmly. Perhaps more than once, a startled, unbidden smile crossed her face. Her mind raced, constructing scenarios. A spin-the-bottle game, a dare, a genuine wanted kiss. The images she'd glimpsed on his phone that morning. A selfie of two girls, one a vibrant redhead, Tessa, she presumed, the other a blonde with dramatic dark lipstick, flashed in her mind. The evidence felt monumental. After so many months of watching him withdraw, she pictured him laughing, flirting, being caught in a moment of youthful impulse. Carrying the linens downstairs, she allowed herself a private, hopeful smile. Perhaps her boy was finally stepping into the world. At lunch, Rob appeared, quiet but not withdrawn. He seemed content. "So," she asked, keeping her tone light and casual as she set a sandwich in front of him, "how did the party go?" He glanced at her, then down at his plate. "It was okay." A pause. Tessa ordered pizza. We listened to music. Another pause, longer this time, and there was dancing. The word dancing hung in the air. Vanessa imagined him, awkward and sweet, moving to the music in a crowded room. Her heart swelled with a mixture of pride and fierce curiosity. She remembered the lipstick stains, but said nothing. She would let him reveal things in his own time. "And did you have a good time?" she teased softly. "With all those girls around you, I'm sure it was lively." Rob gave a non-committal shrug, but a faint blush crept up his neck. "Yes, it was fine. It was enough. It was more than enough." Later that afternoon, a knock came at the door. Vanessa opened it to find two girls standing there. One had a magnificent mane of red hair and a smattering of freckles across her nose. The other had sleek dark hair and intelligent, kind eyes. "Hi, Mrs. Carter." "I'm Tessa," said the redhead, her smile warm and open. "This is Allison. We're here for Rob. We're going to the mall." Allison waved shyly. Vanessa's eyes flickered to Tessa, instantly recognizing her from the phone picture. This, then, was the girl Alex said liked him. Of course. "How lovely to meet you both. Come in, I'll just get him." She called up the stairs, her heart singing. Rob came down, his awkward smile met with their easy, cheerful greetings. "Thanks for including Rob," Vanessa said to Tessa as they turned to leave. Tessa grinned. "Of course. Rob's fun when he gets going." She flashed him a look that was fond and slightly teasing. The girls exchanged a quick, knowing smile that made Vanessa's maternal instincts hum with pleasure. She watched them walk away, the three of them falling into step together, and closed the door with a deep, contented sigh. The weekend unfolded in a whirlwind of unfamiliar activity. Mall trips, burger runs, talk of a future hockey party. Rob was swept up in a current of invitations, and Vanessa reveled in every moment of it. He was coming home later, smelling of fast food and faint, sweet perfume. He was quieter, but it was the quiet of contemplation, not sadness. One evening, Tim found her smiling to herself as she folded laundry, a navy blue hoodie Rob had bought on one of his outings, folded with unusual care. "You're thinking again," he said, wrapping his arms around her waist. "He's different, Tim," she whispered, leaning back into him. "It's like he's waking up." "He's finding his way," Tim replied, his voice a low rumble in her ear. "We can't control it, can't predict it. All we can do is let him live it." She knew he was right. But as the weeks turned into months, Vanessa observed the evolution not with anxiety, but with awe. Rob's phone chimed constantly. He mentioned names casually, Tessa, Allison, and others, as if they had always been part of his life. He laughed more, a real, unforced sound that was music to her ears. She continued to find traces, a whiff of perfume on his jacket, another faint, smudged kiss mark on a collar once, the careful way he now styled his hair. They were hieroglyphics of a life he was living apart from her, and she learned to decipher them with joy, not worry. She understood now that the lipstick wasn't necessarily a declaration of a grand romance. It was a signature, a proof of life, a mark left by the world on her son, evidence that he was finally engaging with it, touching it and being touched by it in return. He was navigating the delicate, exhilarating and often confusing borderland between friendship and something more, and he was doing it on his own terms. One Friday evening, she watched him head out the door to a movie night, his posture easier, his farewell wave confident. "Don't wait up," he said, and it was a statement of independence, not of secrecy. She stood at the door long after he'd gone, the cool night air brushing her skin. She felt a pang for the little boy who was gone, but it was overshadowed by a soaring pride for the young man he was becoming. He was learning to trust, to connect, to open his heart. Closing the door softly, she whispered a prayer of gratitude into the quiet house. Gratitude for the girls who had reached out, for the resilience of her son, for the fragile, wondrous, and beautiful mess of becoming. It was not a neat story with a clear ending, but an ongoing, glorious beginning, and she was there to witness it.